put your defensive player on skates. Crandall shows you how. 5 of 5 for Patrick Whelan from behind the arc.
Oh, Jamell Anderson said, no, my brother. I got some hops as well.
Yeah, wants to go first. Alright, I'll go first.
Cool.
I'm Patrick Whelan. I'm a basketball player. I play for the Caledonia Gladiators now. I feel like I'm excited to start this thing. This is obviously our first episode. I have no idea where this is going to go. And yeah, let's get to it.
I'm Jamell Anderson. I'm from Nottingham. I play professionally for Manchester Giants. And yeah, I'm new to this whole podcast thing.
All right, yeah, I'm Geno Crandall. I'm not British. I am from Minnesota, also professional basketball player. And, like you guys, I'm just excited to be doing this podcast stuff. We don't really know the direction we're going in yet. So it's going to be really raw, really experimental. And I'm excited for that. So welcome to all the listeners.
Experimental is a good word, bro. That's way better than what I was coming up with.
Pete, you gotta introduce yourself.
I'm Pete Simmons, and I'm very much behind the scenes on this podcast, and I'm not really going to say a lot unless you need something finding out, or yeah. And I obviously know all you guys from your time at the Riders.
Producer Pete.
Plug.
Obviously, it being the first time people are hearing from us, everybody probably wants a little bit of a catching up, see where we're at, what's going on with us, what we're doing currently, things like that. So either you guys want to lead off with that?
Well, I'm actually playing against Pat today, so let's just jump into today.
Yeah, oh,
Let's
like it.
Yeah.
What's the scout,
Friendly
bro?
right now, but
You just
scout. Well,
just give me the scout.
Freeze, obviously.
That doesn't seem like a good plan.
I mean, what's going on right now? I play in Manchester. I live in Manchester. I'm married. Me and my wife Georgia. We've got a house here. We've had a daughter recently, so I feel like all my decisions are based around family at the moment. But yeah, I'm very fortunate to be able to play professionally here in Manchester, when that's clearly the best decision for my family. And obviously, I know you guys from playing with the Riders for so long, so yeah, this is where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I think we can just segue straight to P. I think, obviously,
Yeah.
y'all playing each other. You said Manchester, Caledonia. Give us a little update on how that's going, what that's been like.
Bro, Manchester have to be the most unknown team in the league. I have no idea what to expect. The roster is all new people. On all these other teams, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's coming back. This guy's played in the league before. This guy's coming back. Bro, I literally know Jamell and Evan, and I think that's it. So, but now I'm excited to play. I'm excited for the season to get started. Obviously, yeah, I'm playing with Caledonia. There was a little bit of surprise, I think, when people found out I signed. I think people kind of expect you to be loyal to clubs, and obviously moving from the Riders to Caledonia, I think it's again, what was best for me and what was best for my situation. So I couldn't really pass it up. So yeah, for me, it's been a blessing so far, and they're taking care of me well. I don't really have a bad word to say.
That's good. We're gonna circle back to some of that on our next point. I'll go quick because I want to get. You said something good that I want to get back to. But so me personally, in Israel now this year, really excited for that. I actually just got out here maybe 2 weeks ago. We had some stuff with my daughters, with the girls' visas and stuff, that there was some holdups. So I was just sitting at home, not knowing what the heck to do. It was weird because it was day by day. Every day they're like, okay, you ready to go today? You ready to go today? And then it ended up being 2 weeks that I was just sitting at home. I'm like, all right, am I going to play basketball this year? What's up? But no, I'm out here in Israel, man. It's been great so far. Preseason's been really good. Went 2-1 so far in the preseason. Family's good. It's hot out here. We got air conditioning, so that was a blessing. That was the one thing I was like, please, 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 let it be air conditioning. So thankfully, there was. But like I said, I wanted to keep my segment short because I want to go back to something you mentioned, Pat, and then Jamell. Obviously, you can touch on it too. But just talking about kind of the decision making that led you to Caledonia. You know, obviously in the off season for us basketball players, a lot of the time we're on 1-year deals. And you talked about the loyalty that sometimes people expect. And I think it's a good opportunity right now for us to kind of give an insight into, you know, the player perspective. I think fans just think that, oh, you're with a club, things are going well, why would you want to go elsewhere, this or that? And so I think it's a good opportunity for us to kind of use this to give, you know, our portion or our thoughts on anything. So Jamell, you can, you know, kick us off too with that if you want, just talking about what led you back to Manchester or to the clubs you've been a part of.
The first scenario I'll use is when I was in Australia in my second season playing for Townsville Heat. So we'd won the trophy last time I was there. I went back and I got invited to the GB camp in the summer, which is the same time the season's on. So I'm in Australia like right before the playoffs, and the first time in my career senior GB team's like, yo, we want you to come to camp. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I spoke to the coach and he's like, yo, man, it's your country. Like, you got to go. You have to go. You have to go represent your country. He's like, if you was Australian right now, we'd be pushing you out the door. So I was like, all right, cool. So I went back and my team lost in like the first round of the playoffs, I think. Maybe the second. But either way, I couldn't come back because I was with GB. And I remember that feeling of like, man, I really let those guys down. Like, I let that team down. You know, the fans of the club were great. They never said anything bad, never a bad word. But that was my first taste of like leaving a good situation for a different priority. So that was the first experience. And then, yeah, like you just said, most recently I moved to Manchester, again from a good situation, from Cheshire. And I'm sure some of the fans, even now, are still quite confused. But I tried to put it out there in like my statement and everything that I was making the decision for my family. It had nothing to do with the club. And I think most people understood and they respected the fact that I had made that decision. But yeah, first time in my career where it was like, not that basketball comes second, but like my decision around basketball isn't just I'm playing for, you know, where's best for me basketball wise, you know. I'm going to make Manchester the best for me basketball-wise, but the decision to be here was for my family.
Yeah, that's sick. I will say though, Manchester is the best city in the world. So you picked a good spot, bro. Best city in the world. I'm telling you. But no, I was gonna ask a question real quick to the group. When you're in discussions, let's say discussions with a team, what's like the top 3 things that like you look for? Like, obviously we'll come back to like you know, discussing what we're discussing right now. But I was just thinking, like, when you get that contract, what are you looking at? What's the top? Because obviously it's different, probably different for all of us. Like for me, I'm looking at accommodation. I'm looking at the level of competition, and obviously I'm looking at like salary too. But like for you guys, it might be different with childcare and stuff like that. So what's that like for you?
Yeah, I'll say for me, money, first off. I'm not going to lie. I'll start as soon as my agent sends the contract. I go straight to the salaries portion.
I was trying to be a little bit humble. I was trying to be a little bit humble, but I'm not gonna. Hey, do you think, G?
I'm not gonna lie, especially now I'm in year 5 now. As soon as it comes in, my agent too, he knows. Man, there was a couple of situations even in the summer that he'd be like, "Yeah, this team's reached out, but it's we can get a lot more," and I'd be like, "Okay, yeah, fine. That's where the conversation is going to start. Then is set, you know, our floor of money, and if they don't meet it, we'll move on." But after that, I would say the next 2 are probably One, just kind of like a family atmosphere, I would say. I've been lucky to play on a lot of clubs that have had kind of that family feel, that have took care of me and the girls, and go out of their way to accommodate us in different ways. So that one's up there. And then, again, just at this point in my career going into year 5, I'm looking at, the coaches and their history. Do they have a history of, one, winning, and then 2, helping players move on to higher levels, move on to Champions League, Euro Cup, Euro League, things of that nature. And just so what is my ability for upward mobility in that sense are probably the 3 things that definitely factored into my decision this summer, and then kind of just throughout the course of the last few years as well. That's kind of been 3 of some of the driving factors for me.
Yeah,
So Geno's getting paid. Geno's getting paid. That's all I got. That's all I got from that whole discussion. Geno's getting paid.
That was the big takeaway.
First of all, my 3 things, right, is security. So like right now at this point in my career, security is huge. And like the more experience I've got, the more I've realized how important that is, because there's so many things that you can't predict that's going to happen. Like I've seen guys that are like, okay, I'm the starting whatever in this team, and the first week, boom, blow their knee out, and it's like, bro, he's done. And I'm like, oh no, like he's not gonna get paid. Da, 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 da. And then my man's just chilling on the bench the whole season, and I'm thinking, how's this working out? Oh yeah, he's got one of those contracts where like you can't cut him, you have to pay him.
That's a fact.
And I was like, oh, like, you know what I mean? So I'm starting to learn these things like, 4 or 5 years ago. So security is like the first thing for me. I'm not signing with a team, no matter how good the situation is, if there's no security, because I'm 33, I have a mortgage, I have a wife, I have a daughter. Like, bro, it's not a joke, you know what I mean? So security, which kind of goes into salary anyway. Then I would say honesty, bro. Like, I would say in the last 10 years, bro, the word honesty is huge for me. Like, I can't, if I get any hint of like BS, I'm just, I'm going to pass on this situation. One of the first things I'm asking the coach is like, what do you think of me as a player? Like I genuinely want to know what you think. Like, what do you think my weaknesses are? Like, put him on the spot, because if he's honest, he'll tell you things, and if he's a liar, he'll be like, oh man, no, you ain't good. You know what I mean? Like, he'll start like fluffing you up, and I'm like, yeah, you're just trying to say whatever you can to get me to sign. I want someone who's like, bro, you need to work on X, Y, and Z, and I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I know what I'm getting myself into with this coach, So, so honesty, security, they're 2 huge things for me.
And again, it comes with honesty, but for most of the coaches now, at least that I sign with, I know they're like personalities. So obviously Gareth I knew, Rob I knew wouldn't, BS around different issues. So for me, it's like fit. It's like, okay, why am I coming here? What is it you want me to do?
Yeah.
And if it's a job that I like and one that I think that I'd like to do, then we can continue the process. But for example, if I'm speaking to a coach, and obviously a coach isn't going to say this explicitly, but if a coach wants me to be like, okay, you're going to stand in the corner, you're going to space the floor, and you're going to just catch and shoot and play defense, then probably that's not what I'm trying to do. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way to expand my game there, and there's no way to explore like my skill set. So yeah, finding someone that can maximize my skill set and put me in the best positions, that's a key for me for sure.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't even go in like with any questions for a coach. Like, I feel like most of the time, when they're giving their little pitch or whatever, like, they kind of hit most of the things that you would like think of asking. And then if they don't, like, maybe occasionally 1 or 2 things will pop up. Like the coach I'm playing for now basically like came to me and said, yeah, history of sending guards, on to play for these bigger clubs and these bigger competitions. And then my question turned into, all right, kind of like what you said, Jamel, was like, all right, well, what do I need to do to get there then? Kind of just ask them, all right, I'm going to be with you for a year. What are the areas where you can help me improve to get to those levels? So yeah, I don't really go in like with a question to ask. And 90% of the time, honestly, like once they're done talking, I'm kind of over the conversation anyway. So I'm just like, all right, yeah, no, you hit all the points. I don't have no questions. You did a great job. I'll talk to you later. I got other stuff to do. But yeah, I feel like the coaches too, they go in with a pretty good pitch to begin with. So
On the pitch, though, have you ever been interviewed by a coach? Because I had this experience recently, and it blew my mind, bro. Like it was like a job interview, bro.
word. No,
Mad.
no. You gotta tell us more.
Yo, he had like a list. He literally told me, he was like, all right, I'm gonna be honest with you. We've got a list of questions I need to ask. We're just gonna blast through this. He's like, I do it with every player. I was like, okay, cool. He was like, so rate your ability to get to the basket from 0 to 10. I was
Ooh.
like, okay. But then he did that for probably 25 questions. I'm not kidding. It was insane. He was like, okay, there's 2 minutes left in the game. Your team's down 5. Do you want the ball in your hands or do you want to deliver it to the guy that needs? I was like, what is going on here? Like, what, is this serious?
Hey, he was getting you to do his job for him, bro. He was doing this. You were doing the scouting yourself.
I've never experienced
I can't lie.
that
You were
before,
doing
bro.
the
It's
scouting
crazy.
yourself.
Choosing an agent. That's a really good question. Now you wrote that, so
That is a
I
very
have
interesting
feeling-
one.
I'm assuming that you have a good answer to that.
No, I didn't have no. I was just thinking it was a good thing to talk about. We were talking about like off season stuff, what goes into choosing clubs, the contracts, your agents, all of that business. But I can talk about it a little if you'd like.
I mean, everyone's got different relationships with their agents.
Yeah,
I know guys,
100%,
it's like they never
100%.
talk to him.
Yeah.
First off,
yeah.
how many agents have you man had?
I'm only on my second one. I'm only on 2. I've heard
Okay.
some people go through a lot of them. I'm only on my second. And honestly, this should be my first. I should have just signed with him right away.
This is like technically my third. Technically. But I'll get into it in a sec.
Why wait? Let me hear it.
All right. I didn't know someone else wanted to go, but all right. So, coming out of college, I have no idea who to sign with, right? Like it's a weird like recruiting process. These guys are telling you like, I had one agent send me like he sent me 2 contracts of two of his players, right? Which I don't know if it's legal to do that. First off, but he sends me one of the contracts is
Whoopsie.
first contract. I played at William Jewell
I'm
College.
just gonna put his name out there.
This guy
He
played
named
it.
him.
This
Might have
guy.
to bleep that one.
This
Bleep that
guy.
out.
Yeah, I might have to bleep that. But okay, this guy played for Kentucky. I played for William Jewell
Right.
College. What makes this guy think that I'm an idiot and I think that I can make the same amount of money as this guy
Right.
in my first job, right?
Your new agent, did you go and find him, or did he find you?
No. He contacted me, but I knew I was gonna get rid of the agent that I was with anyway.
Right.
Yeah, just because he wasn't listening to me. I was like, when he came back and was like, "Yo, you should go to the same team," I was like, "Are we serious? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we actually doing?"
Yeah, no chance, bro.
But yeah, basically, the coach from my team was also with the agency, so it kind of makes sense.
I just think it's funny how different like contrast relationships can be. So like I didn't have an agent when I was in the BBL for a long time, and even the times that I didn't really use them. I just had them, and then I went and signed a contract with this team, and the agent was like, "Well, I didn't do anything, so I'm just gonna not take anything out of this." But what I'll say is, at this point in my career, I have an agent now who again I don't actually use him for my contract part of it, but like he supports me like in terms of like what I'm doing. So he'll like watch my games and like send me clips and like give me advice because he played in the NBA. So his advice as my agent is bigger than somebody who's trying to, necessarily get me a job where I want to be here in Manchester. So I don't really need that part, if that makes sense. So yeah, like it's just interesting that like some people, I've learned that some people literally have no relationship with their agent whatsoever. Like it's just like, yo, send me the contract. If I like it, I'll sign it. If I don't call me. Don't text me. Whereas like my agent, like I'm super cool with him. We have a good relationship. Like I consider him a friend basically. So yeah, it's just interesting. And then there's two types of agents too, because you got your basketball like contracts, team agent, and then you've got your another type of agent, which is like I'm trying to help you with the stuff off the court, who also happens to be my best friend. So there's that relationship there as well,
No, we don't know. We don't have a lot of off the court stuff going on like you. We're not privileged to have all those
you gotta put
opportunities.
the time in, bro. You gotta put the work in, bro. You know what I mean?
I gotta get a second agent. That's what it is, huh?
Check.
That's what it is.
Check.
If you didn't realize, by the way, the second one was Pete, the plug. A lot of people think when they see stuff that I'm doing, they think it's just like, oh, Jamell just happens to know this person and blah 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 blah. It's like, no, like Pete taught me so much at the beginning about like how to present yourself, how to be in a room of sponsors, like, take opportunities, put yourself out there, message people, like all these things that Pete showed me has had a massive effect on my off-court journey. So yeah, definitely something that I think players need to tap into a lot more.
As a player, it's difficult to like get started. I would say like the like social media side and stuff, and like messaging people and putting yourself out there. It's like it's just extra. You know what I mean? It's just like it feels like extra. I don't think you realize the rewards that come from it. You know what I mean? Yeah, definitely something I feel like we should all be doing, but we just don't know.
Sure.
Like we just don't know what to get from what we're gonna get from it. You know what I mean?
I think Pete needs to do like a master class or something, bro. Because
100%.
We'll get them all on here.
Get them all on here, mate. I think most of it is literally just like you just said, just putting yourself out there. Like if there's a brand that you like,
Yeah.
if at the end of the day, Patrick, Geno, you're both like very, very good players. So you are lucrative. Like brands want players like you to have their logo on them. Like brands want to be represented by people like you. And I think a lot of the time it's just all we're missing is that connection. And I think for me, Pete taught me that like these brands are out there and they want to help people like us. They want to support people like us. But if somebody's not going to bridge that gap, which is sending the message or showing them that you're available type situation, then yeah, man, like nothing is ever going to happen. So it's huge, man.
Like Israel is a country that they're passionate about basketball. You watch teams around the league and they have really passionate fan bases. So I think the opportunity is out there. Like you guys said, you got to be willing to do that work. You have a following, you have a career, you have a platform, you have all these things that companies look for, but there's also a lot of other people who have those things. So I think, like you mentioned, you've got to be willing to put the work in. You've got to be willing to send those messages, willing to bridge the gap, willing to present yourself as somebody who can market something. The part that sucks for me is I'm not always willing to do all that stuff. Right? Like Pete will hit me up and be like, yo, we got to tweet about this. And I'm like, do I? I haven't tweeted in 3 months. Do I have to? And then the whole thing, like I just got back access to my Instagram. Shout out to Jamie from the BBL for that, by the way, helping me out with
British Basketball League.
yeah, from the British BBL, helping me out
Yeah,
with
the British
with some plugs, with some plugs in at Meta to get that back, because I think that is a great vessel to use, honestly. But yeah, just in terms of opportunities through the club here, I don't think there's a ton. But like we mentioned, as athletes, there's a lot of stuff we can do, and I'm hoping, honestly, that we can use this podcast to kind of continue to cultivate and build a bigger audience, because it does just give us another avenue to, if we have people listening, maybe there's a brand, or maybe we mention something in an episode and somebody hears it and says, you know what, I want to align, our brand with those guys, with that stuff. I think that's stuff you see a lot in the podcast space. So there's definitely opportunities for all of that, I think.
And on that note, if anyone would like to sponsor the Players Podcast, please get in touch with Peter at 506.co.uk.
Absolutely. I can't speak for Jamell and Pat, but I am for sale. If you want to send free stuff, I will sample anything. I will give reviews.
We will wear it.
I will wear it.
100%.
I will take pictures. I will work out in it.
We will drink it.
We will absolutely drink it. Between the four of us, we've got a lot of photo shoots in our bag. Right? We are experienced. I know how to turn the label towards the camera.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Whatever.
I think that's a good. I think that's a good
be.
segue too, though. I think that's a good, a good segue. You talk about, being able to use the podcast to build audiences, or, any sponsorship opportunities or things like that. But I think we should just touch on like why each of us individually, because it's kind of funny how it all came together. I think all at different points we wanted to do something on our own, maybe, and then Pete, the mastermind, kind of said, "Hey, you guys all want to do this? Why not do it together?" So I think it could be important for us to touch on, again, just the first episode, let everybody know why, we're all wanting to do this. I feel like if people know and understand and care about your why, it gives them a better opportunity to care about what it is that you're doing as well, if they know why.
I'm going to go first. So I've been thinking about that from when we first met and we were talking about it. And I think the why for me, which could evolve, could change, but right now my why is most definitely like opportunities. I think the next generation, whether it be in the UK, whether it be in Israel, whether it be in Scotland, wherever it is, America, I feel like we might just say that one thing that helps them. You know what I mean? Like, we could be talking about agents or coaches or playing, and there's somebody that's listening, and there's that one little key information that makes a huge impact on his or her life as a basketball player, as a person. And I think for me to sit here with a mic and talk to you guys and know that there's a possibility that we could have a huge impact on somebody's life, I think that's worth it for me. And that's definitely my why for this podcast.
Yeah,
that's sick. That's
for
sick.
me,
How about you,
it's for me, it's like, I feel like people don't really know the reality of how we actually live, what we actually go through. For me, like, this was never about like it was always about just creating something cool, something fun, something new, but like something real. And I think like people think like our lives are so sweet, like, oh, this guy's got it made. He's probably getting paid crazy. He's probably living like a king, like his dream. He's fulfilling his dream right now. Like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? But people have no idea what it's really like, man. What it's real like, sweating, getting 2 hours sleep, sweating at night, like having to go to practice in the morning at 9 a.m., like having no AC, So that's just one example, but to really figure out what it's like. Yeah. Hey, it's much better now. I can't complain now. I can't complain now, but But yeah, no.
Just
Also,
wait till
like,
Pat
like.
arrives.
No, I also think it's really cool though, like seeing like for each of us how far we've come, what our starting points are, and like where we're at now. Like at the end of the day, I'm from Manchester. I'm from England. I'm not even from London. Sometimes I look at I look at my basketball career and I'm like, yo, this might be a miracle. The fact that I made it this far, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I come from a place where I had to break into high schools when I was a kid to get some shots up. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So yeah. Part of me thinks it's a little bit of a miracle, and probably the same for Jamell too. Like just to showcase that journey on whatever space possible was a go for me. Was a reason for me too.
That's always crazy for me, the having to break into school. I think we probably in the future we'll do an episode talking about that, just like the differences, like how the things you guys had to do to get where you're at, with basketball in the country of England, in the UK.
That has to be an episode.
I think that's
I've done some crazy things.
We've got an audience, all around. So I think just explaining to people that may not know what basketball in the UK is like, I think that's something we definitely should do in the future. As for me though, in the why for the podcast, I mean it's something, and I've talked to Pete about this quite a few times. It's something I've had an interest in for a long time. I've always wanted to kind of operate in that media space, and I feel like podcasts are one, especially right now. Yes, it's saturated. Everybody's doing podcasts, but I think it's that way because it's accessible. Like the reason so many people do it is because there are so many listeners, right? It's something you can just plug on in the car if you want. Something you can pull up on your TV at home. You can watch it on your phone, on the laptop. I think it's something that reaches people. And so, with me wanting to be in that media space, I didn't really know always what I want to be podcasting about, so to say, or talking about. I've sometimes think that, hey, maybe it's something not to do with basketball, right? Like my whole life is consumed with basketball. Maybe I want to have an outlet to talk about, these other things. You get 240 characters in a tweet. You get, I'm not going to write a book under an Instagram post or anything. I've got my blog that I was working on. Kind of took a break with that, but I think it's for me, the opportunity to be involved just with a podcast, because again, in the future I see myself as wanting to operate in the media space in some kind, whether it's a producer, helping to create content, being a voice, being in front of the camera, anything like that. So when you guys came to me with the opportunity, I was like, yeah, that's a no-brainer. I get to sit there and talk mostly basketball. I'm assuming like it is the one area that I'm probably the most knowledgeable about. Like I could want to talk about all these other things, but like when you talk about getting in front of a mic and people having to listen to you, they probably want to hear you talk about shit you actually know about. So, but it just seemed like a great opportunity to just hang out, and get to talk, have an outlet for things that we want to say. And then again, I could tell, talking to you guys, that it was something that you were really passionate about. And so I was just excited for the opportunity to be a part of that, like knowing that it was something that you guys really, really wanted to do and really felt strongly about. I was like, it doesn't even matter what we're talking about at that point. Like, I just want to be involved and want to see what I can do to help and position myself to get experience in podcasting. So I think for me, it kind of was a nice like coming together of multiple things that I had in mind, I guess. But all right, I got one topic that I want to touch on, and then we can probably wrap it up here to keep it short. But obviously, and I think Pete mentioned this in our message, the whole Noah Lyles thing, right, with the world champions. All right, I'm going to use it as a segue because I'm not going to give my full answer because I'm currently writing a blog post about it, just so y'all know. A little cross promotion there. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm doing?
You taking notes on this, G?
Well, I am.
You better put the podcast in
sorry
the
if
blog
my
too.
mic's loud. Absolutely,
ball.
every time, 100%. That's see, it's cross promote. It's I'm telling you, we got a whole network going on. But no, I'm curious because my stance. I'll start off. I posed the question, and like I said, I've already kind of got figured out where I'm at with it. The thing that bothers me, there's a couple of things. One, it's like, all right, you've just won a world championship, right? Like this is the biggest moment of your life, and you've gone and took all the attention possible off of yourself. Like, and it's weird to me too because it feels like, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the demographics that make up the NBA, but it's always the NBA, right? Every time there's something that somebody has to say about another league or a plot, it's always the NBA. It's always basketball. You know what I mean? Like, so that was like two of the problems I had is you're taking all the attention off yourself, which is like, come on, man. Like that's, I feel like media, number one. Like you're hot right now and you're going to go in. Because even every time your name does get mentioned, like, okay, maybe his mentions spiked on Twitter or whatever, it was always connected to the NBA. And the NBA is always going to be a bigger brand than you. Like, they were always going to carry the weight on that story. So that was my one thing. And then my other thing is, like, as somebody who watches a decent amount of the NBA, especially, when I was younger, back still being in America, like, that whole thing is like a myth. Like, maybe players in the vernacular are like, oh, we're world champions, whatever. But like, and I did my research because again, I'm doing a blog post about it. Like I'm going to make an entire post. I went back like 10, 15 years. There's no merch, no t-shirts, no hats or nothing that say world champions. They all say NBA champions. So I'm like,
damn,
you just, again, it was one of those things where, again, like maybe in the vernacular, you might have a player who posts like, oh, I'm the world, like we world champions or whatever. But like, are you really caring that much about like what an individual player says? And then there is the fact that like, come on, the Denver Nuggets are beating any club in the world in a 7-game series, probably 4-0. And I don't know if any game's going to be within 20 points. Like if we're just being realistic about it. But that was, like I said, I got a blog post. I'll get more in depth. But it was just a whole. But I do think it's a good conversation point, and I'm sure something that people, especially with you guys being international, well, to Americans, international players. What are your thoughts? And you've both played for GB, obviously, so you have the FIBA experience. What are your thoughts on it?
You know what? You might not like this, but I don't really think he's wrong in what he said. Personally, I'm not even trying to just be Zach Jackson here and play devil's advocate. Like, I promise you, I genuinely, like, I understand where what both sides are coming from, but like, first of all, I didn't even notice that they called themselves NBA World Champions. I had to go look that up because I was like, what? I thought it was just NBA champs. I thought that's what they called themselves. But
yeah.
But then when I looked at it, I was like, they only play in America. Like, they don't, it's not like they go somewhere else and compete, or like, European teams or any other teams go to the US and compete. Like, they only play in the US. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, now don't get it twisted. It's the best players in the world in the US. Don't NBA is the best league in the world. But like, for me, I was like, it's the National Basketball Association, not the International Basketball Association. Like, it's the National Basketball Association. So like,
yeah, I feel you 100%. Like I think my thing is just like, if no, 100%. Like if you want to be technical, like by definition, absolutely, they didn't play. The Nuggets did not play in an international competition where every team in the world had a chance to play them, like on a very technical basis. Like, are you the champions of the world? No.
Right.
Not at all. Like, I think that's a super straightforward. I think the thing that just is weird to me is, like I said, like you've taken that spotlight off yourself, and like, to what end? Like, what did you gain from that?
Yeah, that's facts.
He's 26, right? Like, he's young, like, advantageous. He's gonna say stuff that's like, he thinks it's a big deal. Like he thinks like, okay, this is a really, important subject. He's 26. I'm sure later on in his career, as he gets older, he'll probably look back at that moment and be like, yeah, maybe I had that opinion, but maybe I should have chose a different time to say that. Like maybe not right then.
Bro,
but
you know what else? He could have chosen a way
NBA
different topic.
So you were saying that you researched it, and it was like the NBA don't call themselves world champions. That's more like a social aspect. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, like go and like I said, I'll post because I've saved pictures because I was genuinely curious. Like as I'm writing this up, I'm like I don't want to be wrong about the things I'm saying, right? Like if they're sitting here and they got a hat on, right? He says they're wearing world champs on their heads. Like the last few, let me see, I got a few saved in my thing. I think the last few hats, t-shirts, whatever, a couple of them have said NBA champions, a couple of them have the NBA logo and then champions, like, but there's no mention of on t-shirts, on hats, of anything saying world champions. Again, it's just like maybe a social thing, like maybe the guys or maybe Stephen A. Smith or something on ESPN is the next day is like, yeah, now they're champions of the world or whatever. But like it's weird because, and again as an American I have maybe a unique perspective on this, but like the Super Bowl champs, for example, like in the NFL, will call themselves world champs. Like again, I had to look this up. There will be stuff that's made up that says world champions. In baseball, in the MLB, there will be stuff that says world champions. But of the three major American sports, with basketball having the biggest like international base of those, I feel like the NBA goes out of their way to not say world champions. And then he still brought it up, and so it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It was just weird.
So, here's my little coin. All right. So we say, not that the NBA is saying this, but imagine if the NBA were saying that they were world champions, right? We sit here and say, how can you say that? Because it's only America that's in the NBA, right? But if England had the money and the situation to do so, we technically could have an NBA team, right? Is there a rule to say that you have to be in America to have an NBA team?
Not that I know of. Toronto's in Canada.
There you go.
Mexico City has a G League team.
So, not that this argument is going on because the NBA aren't saying that they're world champions, but technically they kind of are, because if there was another country that could afford to be in the league and have an NBA team, they could also be in the league,
just,
but they're not.
Again, it's
that is a good point. I forgot about Toronto.
Yeah, and I mean it's still
forget
America,
about Toronto.
I mean, it's still North America. But it's just one of those, like, again, as I was looking into it, I was like, I kind of dug my heels in deeper to my stance of like, what is this dude talking about? Because nobody said, like, again, maybe a while ago, like I feel like I have recollections in my childhood of seeing like, those Bulls teams with, back to back to back world champions or something like that. Like, okay, but if that's the case, like you're arguing about something that was happening, and maybe even in the early 2000s, I don't know. But again, like looking back, and I got all the way back to 2012, I think. I was looking at LeBron and D Wade, some of their Heat teams, and all the gear just says NBA champs. Like it doesn't say world champs. So I'm like, I don't know where this dude. But again, like you said, it's one of those things. Maybe just in the moment, he really had something on his heart that he had to get off. Or maybe it was a publicity thing. I don't know. But obviously it's been all over social media the last however many weeks. And I just wanted your guys' take on it. Because like I said, I've done some looking into it. And I was just like, yo, what's this dude talking about, bro? Like, oh, yeah, I hear there's a lot of beef in the British
Media
Basketball
timeout.
League about media timeouts.
Yeah, I mean, me and Patrick are like,
I don't mind.
break?
Yeah,
Give me a free timeout.
that's what I'm thinking
Yeah.
from a player's perspective
Yeah.
as well. I'm thinking like, yo, if we had media timeouts when I was playing, I could have played 40 minutes a game. Like,
100%.
what are you talking about?
Give me a free
Play
timeout,
all-
please.
Yeah, I'll play all 40. But yeah, maybe we'll touch on that. I'll write that down. We got humble beginnings and media timeouts for next time.
Media
And the
timeout.
podcast name.
and a podcast.
Yeah, and on that note, let's hope the Caledonia Gladiators get the dub today and
Oh, you got another
blow the
game as
Manchester
well.
Giants
You
out
must
the
have two
water.
games today. You got two games today. I didn't know you had two games. Oh, that's crazy. Maybe I could watch the game that you're
man.
talking about, and then
All I know is Jamell's running off 2 hours sleep, so hey, I'm gonna be
Yeah, get him out of here. Go get a nap, man.
yeah.
I hear my
all
child
I need,
crying
I guess.
in the background as
Yeah.
well, so I don't.
that's all I need.
Yeah. All
I
right.
only need 2 hours. Against
Episode 1 in the
Caledonia.
books, I guess.
Yeah, I'm satisfied.
All right, my boys. We need an
the
outro
books.
and an intro too.
All right.
You know, write that down.
In the meantime, give us a listen wherever you get your podcasts. Apple Music, Google Podcasts, YouTube, maybe Audible. I don't know. I'm just naming stuff. We don't know what we're doing yet. But when we do, you'll know.
We don't know where we're putting this.